A police officer saved the life of a girl who always waved to him. At 9 years old, Clyn Scales found her first hero, a local police officer who was assigned to make the rounds in her neighborhood every day. She kept track of what time he'd be passing by her house and would sit by the window waiting. When he'd pass by, Clyn would excitedly wave to say hello. The police officer enjoyed the friendly interaction and would wave back. Every day the pair would exchange hellos, often brightening otherwise hard days. There's a reason Clyn's neighborhood was patrolled daily. She didn't exactly have an easy childhood. Clyn Scales grew up in Kansas City, Missouri. During the 1990s, when she was a little girl, she would help her mom take care of her two younger brothers. To anyone on the outside, she seemed like just another young girl living a normal life. Her life, however, was anything but normal. Clyn's neighborhood was so dangerous, she'd look forward to seeing the police officer drive by her house every day. This was the truth of Clyn's life, and somehow she found a way to embrace it. It was for this reason she survived through the most difficult time of her life. The house that Clyn Scales grew up in with her brothers and mother was in a neighborhood ruined by drugs and violence. It was no place for a child to have grown up, but it was the reality of Clyn's situation. Making matters worse, Clyn's mother was rarely home, having to work ruthless hours to keep a roof over her family's head. This meant a lot of Clyn's life growing up was spent raising her brothers. That's a lot to ask someone who isn't even a teenager. As the eldest sibling in the household with an absentee parent, Clyn took responsibility for her brothers. She knew they needed to eat, so she'd walk through her dangerous neighborhood to go to 7-Eleven. Without money to pay for the essentials, young Clyn was forced to steal what she needed to survive. The troubled life of Clyn and her brothers is heartbreaking to think about. No child should grow up without a childhood, and that's essentially what happened. Clyn became a mother to her brothers, and her love drove her to do whatever needed to be done for their well-being, even at her own health's decline. Because of the way she was forced to live her life, it wasn't long until the police noticed Clyn Scales. They learned everything they could about the down-on-their-luck family. One police officer in particular found himself especially concerned. This was the officer who ended up driving by Clyn's house every day, becoming a light in an otherwise dark world. Their daily exchange became expected and highly anticipated. The officer was making a huge difference in Clyn's life. He had no idea that before he knew it, he'd also be saving it. Not only did the unnamed police officer drive by Clyn's house every day to make sure she was safe, he told her that he was there to protect her. Fully grown today, Clyn said, "Through all the bad situations, I would just picture him saying he was there for us." Little Clyn Scales quickly grew attached to her new friend. He was the one person that I trusted in my life as a kid. She loved greeting him every day, and he loved waving back. When she didn't show up to greet him one day, he knew something was wrong. Their greeting had become routine, and considering the neighborhood Clyn lived in and the responsibilities she had as a mother, her missing her daily greeting was a troubling warning sign that something wasn't right. Cautiously, the police officer approached the Scales household and let his instincts take over. What he found when he opened the door was devastating. Little Clyn was lying on the floor, struggling to take a single breath. The officer rushed Clyn to the emergency room, where all he could do was wait. We know now that Clyn survived, but imagine being this officer with no idea what was happening. We can't imagine how hard it must have been to helplessly wait outside of the emergency room. Luckily for the police officer, his quick thinking saved Clyn's life. At the hospital, it was determined she'd suffered a severe episode of malnutrition. If he hadn't have found her in the time that he did, there's a good chance Clyn would not be alive too. Shortly after the incident, Clyn moved with her family to Texas. She was never able to say thank you to the man who saved her life. Knowing it's never too late, Clyn set out 20 years later to track down her unnamed hero. One of the first things Clyn did when she began searching for her hero was to post about her experience online. She didn't know who might see what she was posting, but she stayed optimistic. Her optimism paid off when she saw a comment by Jennifer Jones. Jones was a sergeant with the Kansas City Police and saw Clyn's story. She told Clyn she thought she knew the officer being described. Was Clyn about to find out the true identity of her childhood hero? Was her search for the truth uncovered this easily? In 2016, an officer named Jeff Colvin opened an email from Jennifer Jones. The email talked about Clyn and the story she wrote about online. She explained there was a little girl who lived down the street from the station Colvin worked at, was grown up and looking for her guardian angel. Colvin recognized the story right away. He knew who Clint was and knew that the little girl whose life he saved was able to grow up. Years of worry and wondering were flushed away with joy and happiness. Just as Clint Scales had never forgotten about Jeff Colvin, he had never forgotten about her either. As he said, "I had actually thought about her and wondered whatever happened to her." Now he didn't have to wonder anymore. He knew the truth. The truth made him ecstatic. He was overwhelmed with happiness to learn that Clint was alive. He was also incredibly touched she remembered him and had reached out to find him. The only thing left to do was to be reunited with Clint. After 20 years not knowing what had happened to the other, Colvin and Clint reunited in person. Both were overwhelmed with emotions. Clint even broke down in tears upon seeing her childhood hero again. She admitted that she thought it would never happen. Colvin's life was changed by the reunion too. He'd spent so long on the force dealing with more failures than successes, he was losing his passion for the job. Seeing Clint reignited a fire inside him. When Jeff Colvin saw Clint for the first time in 20 years, something amazing happened. His passion for the job returned. He said, "Most times we go through our career not realizing we truly helped anybody out. I wondered if I was even in the right career path." Officer Colvin at that moment knew without a doubt he had made the right career choice. He then learned that his choices led Clint to make a unique career choice of her own. Inspired by her childhood hero, Clint Scales revealed to Colvin that she applied to be a police recruit in Houston. His heroics had led her down her own path to become a police officer and work to make a positive impact on the lives of those around her. The surprises didn't end there. Scales had been dreaming of this reunion for 20 years. Not only was Colvin her childhood hero and career inspiration, he was like a surrogate father to her. With that, she had one more thing to tell him. As soon as Clint learned the name of her hero, she had a bracelet made with the words "Sergeant Jeff Colvin, a true hero" engraved on it. She said she got the bracelet to honor her hero and friend, reiterating she sees him as her guardian angel. The story of Clint and Colvin proves the positive power that police officers can have on communities and individuals. Clint isn't the only person who's ever had her life changed by an officer, something she found out when her story went viral. Knowing there are few things as powerful for police stations as community outreach, the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department shared the story online. Her story went viral instantly, with many people inspired to share their own amazing stories about police officers. Not surprisingly, several commentators shared their own stories about Sergeant Colvin and the amazing things he'd done for them. As it turns out, Clint's life wasn't the only one he saved after all those years on the streets. He was a true local Kansas City hero. In today's world, police officers aren't always treated with respect, and the overwhelming support Clint and Colvin received was incredible. One comment read, "I have great respect for all police, though some deserve it more than others." In this case, no one deserves more respect than Jeff Colvin for the time and care he took in protecting Clint during her time of need. Talking about her plans for the future, Clint chooses to focus her attention on the past. "I hope one day I can become someone's hero or make a positive impact like you, Colvin, did mine." With 2 kids of her own, Scales plans to start with them. Then with her new career, she plans to become an even bigger hero. Colvin's heroics showed her that there was light in the dark. Now she sees it as her job to pay it forward and show a new generation of lost souls that there is hope. The story of Sergeant Jeff Colvin and Clint Scales is one of sadness turned into happiness. It stands as proof that there's good in the world and there are people committed to being good. This is important to remember, especially during tough times. After graduating from the police academy as of June 2018, Clint is officially a police officer. Can you guess who was in the audience cheering her on? Jeff Colvin and his wife, along with Jennifer Jones, all showed up to congratulate Clint on her accomplishments.